Hello, this is Legend of the Stars, qualifier number 1, 2019 finals between Pepsi and Nexus. I think it was a best of 5, and the Nexus won 3-0, as is expected from the Burger King himself. And, well, Pepsi said that he had no idea why he lost, and it was very sad. And he wanted coaching. Now, this map is Abhor, and it's very well mapped out at this point. Actually, Nexus is pretty good at it, and there's several other players who are really good at it, like Tagada, for example. I think he specifically has like a build order for it, and like a really good idea of what to do, whereas he might not have that for other maps, so he's stronger on this than in other maps. But I think that's kind of the general trend right now anyway. Nexus also has the same build order for this, basically, or at least similar one. The standard thing is to send 2 engineers to the Hydro, as they're both doing, and then you send 2 more engineers, get the expansion mixes and the reclaim. Pepsi decided to go for a lab. Not a big fan of this move. There's such a long distance, and the engineers are all comped up in the same location, so they're pretty easy to defend. You only need to have 1 tank to defend, and you only need 1 scout. Nexus has that. Yeah, I think he even built it a little early. He made only 3 engineers. Maybe he was expecting this. So that's a very easy hold for Nexus. There's no point even looking at it, to be honest. Let's look at Pepsi's build order. So he makes an air factory after the Hydro. I think this is bad because he delays the mexes and the reclaim on both of these sides. Actually, these are the most important mexes early on, and the most important reclaim really. There's also this reclaim, which is really nice. He's at least getting that in time. Yeah, this is dying. So yeah, I would say this is probably pretty bad. I think it's better to assist ACU, make the air factory with the ACU, so you don't delay your shit. There's also this engineer reclaiming. He's gonna be getting this Hydro pretty early. Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to defend this side, because opponent is going to be sending all of their tanks on this side as well. He wants to defend his stuff over here. He'd be pushing in, could be taking advantage of this engineer in your future. Not sure if it's really that risky, but it is a little bit. And the reason that he needs this reclaim in the first place, I think, is because he made this air factory here. Let's look at his perspective. So, too much energy. These 2 pigeons, actually... Okay, so he needed these 5 pigeons just because he would stall otherwise when he was making the Hydro. But after the Hydro, that means that he had 1 extra pigeon already. Because you only need, you know, like 2 pigeons for the air factory, so you have 5 pigeons from the Hydro. That's good enough for just the land and just land and building stuff. And then, you know, you need 2 more for the air factory, so 7 total. Then he had 1 extra left over, so he didn't need to build an extra power after this factory. And then he made even more extra, so this is like 3 pigeons extra or something. You need only 1 pigeon per factory, so pretty bad. There's a bomber from Pepsi. A little disrespectful, I would say. Like, I think you could assume that there's gonna be an air factory. You could assume that there's gonna be a scout first from Nexus. So that's why I'm saying that it's disrespectful. Because you don't, like, it's almost as if you don't assume that the opponent knows what they're doing. Also, this is very disrespectful. Like, do you really think Nexus is not gonna have units here? Why would you think that? So yeah, he's just gonna lose this Mantis for free, basically. I mean, obviously they get some damage done, but very minimal. really gets around here, at the back here because of a little bad control from Nexus. But anyway, it's really bad to rely on your opponent to do big mistakes like this. And the same thing goes for this air fight. You're just relying on your opponent misplaying to win this air fight. And I feel like Pepsi does that a lot. He relies on his opponent playing or doing something wrong. And yeah, this economy balance is not very good. He has 2 engineers assisting now, but the reclaim actually the reclaim already run out. No, there's reclaim here, so that's where he's getting his mass from. I think the real problem was that he had an earlier he had a bad economic balance, and this is just propagation of that over time. It's not really a mistake that he's doing now, it's more the mistake that he did earlier that leads to this position. He's eventually gonna spend this mass, but looks a little painful right now. He's also not queued up any extra pigeons, even though he's making more factories, so that's kind of bad. I think one of the issues with getting a power, like having too much power at one point, is that it's very tempting to just queue up a lot of shit without creating any extra pigeons afterwards. Well, turns out eventually you'll stall energy that way. It just becomes really hard to control. So if you get everything right from the start, it's much easier to control your economy. Like, you'll just have be making that 1 pigeon per factory or whatever all the time, and you don't have to think about it too much. So some economy issues from Pepsi. Also, this reclaim, I really don't think it's worth it, but anyway. It looks like Nexus has a large advantage in terms of score. I don't know if that really matters, but if we're thinking about what happened earlier. So Pepsi had this too much power early on, so his build order was a little unoptimal. He lost a bomber for free, not doing anything. He lost 3 mantis for free, doing nothing. He lost a lab, early lab, doing nothing as well. So it is not surprising that Pepsi's behind. And if you look at this kill-death ratio, you can kind of tell. It's a little bugged sometimes, but yep. However, I mean, Pepsi has the right ideas, generally. This is definitely the right idea. He's making the transport, actually, as a repeat build here. It's kind of weird. Yeah. So the time you want to get this transport is around when you get all of your mexes on the map. Or even a little earlier, if you can. Most of the time, it's pretty safe to get a transport because it's very hard for your opponent to scout it. And even if you scout it, once the inti counts gets big enough, like 3 more intis, like 3-4 intis, at that point you can actually win inti fights with less intis if the enemy targets your transport, because you get behind them. So even if they kill the transport, it's probably still a better fight for you. So it's very safe to get a transport after like 3 intis. But yeah, this is a decent time transport. It isn't too late at all. This is really bad though. So what's happening here is that Pepsi's engaging his army in a way where his units are separated from each other and they're taking a lot of damage for free. Nexus's units are much more clumped up and much more of them are firing. So Pepsi takes a lot of fights like this in general. And they're really bad. There's actually a lot of very good unit management from Nexus in general. Like Nexus here uses the artilleries to harass his opponent while keeping the tanks close enough. Oh, well, this is a mistake. A little bit of a mistake. But like generally keeping your tanks close enough to the RTs to defend them while being able to use the RTs in the front line to harass the opponent. Very nice play from Nexus, of course. And yeah, there's a power stall here. And wait. Okay. So yeah, so eventually you want to transition, and after the transport is the right time, I would say, because you get all of these maxes, and you want to spend the mass that you get from all these maxes. So you want to spend it on something, and that something is usually a tier 2 max and tier 2 land. Now the reason you do it this way is that early on you need to get enough units to defend and get the entire map control. But once you reach a certain amount of units, extra units don't really make that big of a difference anymore. And once all of the expansions have been established, it's very easy to defend them. So you're safe to get, you know, a mechs with like the last few mass income that you just got from the last few mexes. Generally, same thing goes for tier 2. Any investment, really any long-term payoff related things, you get them after you've solidified your position in a way. So yeah, tier 2 units pretty good here because of the amount of units that there are. Looks like Nexus is breaking through here because of the earlier mistakes. But anyway, tier 2 units are pretty good here because of the amount of units that there are. So it is a good time to get tier 2. But I prefer the tier 2 mechs actually. Simply because you need to have the extra income to consistently upgrade mexes. Just like one mex at a time consistently, so you're always improving in economy slightly. So if your opponent doesn't improve their economy slightly, then they will lose. And if they do, I mean, if they do, then you're not behind. Obviously, if they're just all in, no mexes, no mex upgrades, then you should still be able to defend because the defender's advantage in this game is very strong compared to some other games that I played recently. Yeah, this game, defender's advantage is definitely very strong. There's just so much to talk about in this game, but one of the big things here is that he made 3 support factories at the same time, and he's pumping only hoplites from them. So first of all, you don't want to make them all at the same time. You just don't have enough mass for it, and also you don't have any units while you're building them. And yeah, so that's actually really bad. And then in addition to that, he's making hoplites out of all of them. And I think this is like the maximum amount of hoplites that you want to have in a game. You don't really want to have a lot of hoplites. Like, you only want to have enough to kill their tier 1, you know, harass them a little bit. They are like mass hoplite is not a good build to go into. You should have rhinos instead or something. And yeah, so that was one of the reasons he lost this is because of that, making the factories. And well, I guess making the mass hoplites doesn't matter anyway because he's already lost the game. But yeah, he's trying to do a desperate push here. Definitely not the right way to do a suicide push into like a gun commander and making only artilleries out of your factories. Definitely not the right way to go about it. You know, if you want to win a lost game, then I would go for like a snipe or something instead of running into a gun ACU. Yeah, not the best way to try to end the game. So you could go for a Corsair snipe or something. I mean, obviously it's gonna take a long time till you get there, but yeah, I mean, he could have defended for a while if he played it properly. Looks like I don't have any sound anywhere in the game, so kind of bugged. Pretty disappointing, actually. Wow, is this a new thing? Is a new bug? Does it have to do with the replay, like the replay being old? Something? Yeah. Well, this is really weird. But anyway, this is game over. I mean, he's just gonna kill his AC right now. Yeah, that's that. So this series is pretty much a stomp from Nexus. I think this is the closest game out of all of them. I'm not really gonna cast the other ones. The other ones are there's a sentence game where Pepsi basically loses in 2 minutes, or more like 5 minutes, I guess. And then there's what was the other game? Forbidden Pass game where he just suicide pushes. Well, not really suicide pushes, but like does this really weird cheese where he only makes artilleries and it's actually awful. It's completely pointless idea. Well, especially the way he executes it. Because he's like trying to push his commander away or something. But anyway. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm probably gonna cast some other games as well. Eventually. Just trying this YouTube thing out. Yep.